Hello everyone. So this video is kind of serving as a dual purpose. It's not just a card making video, it's also my announcement video. I'm now on the Paper Trail design team. So it's a new stamp store that's located in BC, Canada. So I'm using some images and supplies that are currently available there. They're brand new stores. So it's all like brand new and exciting and gonna grow and all this crazy stuff. So yeah, as of today, that it was all announced that I'm on their little design team. So I made this kind of little card to celebrate, and I'm using the CC Designs tulip monkey image, and I'd stamped it onto some white cardstock with my Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and then I'm coloring him in with my Copic markers. And I'm using the Basic Gray Persimmon paper pack, which if you guys have been watching my videos a couple months ago, I was kind of obsessed with it for a while. So that's another item that the Paper Trail has in stock. So I pulled that out to use again and reminded myself how much I love it. And normally with an image like this, I would go for brighter colors. I was thinking kind of like pinks and bright greens and the standard Copic colors I'd use to color the monkey in. And that's why I think I really like this paper pack, because I went with colors again that would go with it. So I used more of these kind of greeny browns, the E42, 43, 44, and 47 to color in the monkey. As always, working my way lightest to darkest. And I used the first three, the 42, 43, and 44 for his face and his little belly there. And then I used the 43, 44, and 47 for the rest of his body, so it's just slightly darker, so you've got a little bit of definition there. And then once I was done getting it all colored and blended and happy with it, I went on to color the tulips. And I went with orange for those, so I'm using YR65, YR68, and then I wanted a little more definition, so I grabbed my E08 and added a bit of that. And again, lightest to darkest, and then working my way back. Purposely not completely filling in the tulips. I left that little bit of white at the tips, which for me is like huge, because I love when other people do it, but I have such a hard time not filling everything into exactly to the lines. Like that brings me back to when I was like 2 years old. I would always color in the lines and just be very precise and particular. So once I was done with the tulips, I went on to do the little leaves and the ground, and that was YG 91 and 95. Again, not colors I would normally go for, but they match the pattern papers, so it worked. And then the little B was just Y35, W5, and W7. No work at all, you just dab the color on. And then I'm going to mask off the image. I did this before the video started. It's kind of a therapeutic thing for me. I stamped it on some masking paper and trimmed it out while I was thinking about what I would do to make this card. And because it's so thin, it's actually really quick and simple to cut out. So I was even able to cut out that little tiny bee and mask him. And then I just used my craft knife to get him in place because he's so tiny. And then got my craft mat out just to protect my work surface and my little Copic airbrush. And I'm using a couple of Copic markers that are just chow markers. So they're not meant to fit in the airbrush, but if you just put like a hair elastic or any elastic, or even some double-sided foam tape, you can get it to work. So I just literally pulled out my ponytail and wrapped my hair elastic around it so it can hold the marker in place. And then just holding my cardstock upright, because it's a lot easier when you're using these air cans so that everything's upright. And you can't see my finger very well, but I'm just doing very short little bursts. You don't hold it down solid constantly when you're using this. One, because you'll end up usually making a mess and using more ink than you intend to. And two, when you're using compressed air cans like this, they'll get very, very cold. You'll notice it quite quickly. They'll start to get cold. And that's when you lay off, let it go back to normal. But if you do short little bursts, like really light little bursts, you can get quite a bit of use out of it before it gets too cold to use. So I did B00, which is very light blue, just lightly around the image, and then I took my B02, which is a little bit darker, and kept that even closer to the image because I kind of wanted it to fade out and just be really light. So really, really quick and simple. So once it's done, this is always the best part. It looks so fun, is peeling off that mask, and it's like, oh, it's all done. So peeled it all off, and then thought to finish it off, I'd grab one of my white pens. So I've got my little Sharpie poster paint pen here. So just adding little kind of lines and little highlights in that, it just makes everything kind of pop. So added it to the flowers and then started adding some little dots here, and then I just started going kind of crazy and just adding it to everything because I just love how the white kind of pops on the colored image. So just adding little lines, little dots, kind of in areas where technically the highlights would be, but then some of it I just didn't care. I just thought it'd look cute. So added some little dots to the flowers, and then added a little bit more to the monkey. And then when I was done with that, I was like, oh, I'll start adding more dots. So I added a few to the ground too while I was at it. So yeah, really fun, really simple. So, and barely with ones like this where you press the tip down to like let the ink flow, is barely press at all because you do not want that pooling up and messing up everything. So dries really quickly. So then I went on to the card itself. So yeah, I'm using these basic gray persimmon papers, and I cut up a bunch that I wanted to use just in different shapes, kind of came up with a fun little simple layout. So I'm using 4 different pattern papers. I get asked a lot how you match pattern papers, how I find it so easy. One, I stick within the same pack. So all these papers were from the same pack, so they're meant to work together. You know, the colors match, everything. So it's just more picking a decent little variety of patterns and colors, and they're already go together. So most of the work is done. So once I got everything adhered, I grabbed a sentiment from my All Men sentiment set. This is another set that the paper trail is carrying. So technically meant for all men, but I had included a couple in there that can be used for any occasion. So I put a tiny, tiny dab of ATG adhesive on the main image there just to hold it in place. You'll see why in a minute. But I wanted it in place just so that I can get the sentiment where I want it. And then just use my stamp positioner to get the friend stamped straight and above the main image there. And then there's another little stamp in the set that says for my. So again, use my stamp positioner and got that stamped above. And then remove the main image there for a minute because I wanted to add some ribbon. And since I made this a top folding card, I wanted the ribbon to wrap all the way around. And the easiest way to do that is to just cut a little slit in the spine of the card on the top there. And then thread the ribbon through. And then it needs to be adhered or attached somewhere. So I wasn't planning on tying a bow with that piece, so it had to be taped down behind the main image. So once I got it taped down there, I can apply the main image, so add the adhesive and adhere that over that so you don't see any of the tape and it's all perfect. And then I'm going to add the bow separately because I wanted the bow to be, you know, more horizontal. It's a little more finicky in a way, but at the same time it makes the bow look nicer so that it's not pointed in a weird direction, if that makes any sense. So I grabbed a second piece of ribbon, threaded it underneath there, and then just tied it in a bow. And then just kind of pinch the knot as you're fiddling with it so you're not undoing it every time you're pulling on the tails. And yeah, just a bit of fiddling till I got it the way I wanted it. And this is some AmyR's seam binding ribbon, which is another one of my favorite ribbons. It just ties really nicely and it's so nice. So got that tied and trimmed off, and then finally I just grabbed some little enamel dots from my stash that had a few colors that kind of matched the colors of the main image in the pattern paper. So adhered those into place. And then on the inside of the card, I had just cut down some pattern paper, the exact same ones I used on the front. Did the same layout to keep things really simple, but just finish it off, and that's all there was to it. So as always, I will post a link below the video to my blog post, and I'll post links to all the supplies used. And if you're in Canada, make sure to check out this paper trail website. I'll have a link to all that as well. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!